equivalent to 22.67%. The third sector was the financial activities sector, which contributed 1.225 trillion, equivalent to 10.27%. The fourth sector was the information and communication sector, which contributed 824.85 billion, equivalent to 6.92%. And the public administration, defense, and social security sector contributed 453.8 billion, equivalent to 3.81%. 20 sectors registered growth in revenue compared to the same period last year, as shown below. The wholesale and retail trade, repair of motor vehicles and motorcycles, and manufacturing, these registered the highest absolute growth of 289.54 billion or 12%, and 269.85 billion or 8.9% respectively. The arts, entertainment, and reconciliation sector had the highest proportionate growth of 69.6 billion, equivalent to 186.25%. Of course, this is because of the lockdown of COVID, where this sector did not contribute anything. The comparison is between this financial year and the last one. The education sector, equally affected by COVID, contributed 65.58 billion, which was 47.7% growth. And then the construction sector contributed 86.25 billion, which is equivalent to 44.13. The biggest decline was in the mining and quarry sector of 10.7 billion or 7.06%, and information and communication sector of 56.12 billion or 6.37%. With the recovery of the economy from the global pandemic, the arts, the entertainment, the recreation sector, the accommodation and food service activities, the construction sector have continued to register significant growth. The growth in the arts and entertainment and recreation sector was mainly due to the gambling and betting activities that grew by 35.25 billion, and the creative arts and entertainment activities by 3.37 billion. The growth in accommodation and food services sector is mainly from the short-term accommodation activities that grew by 27.7 billion or 76.05%, botanical and zoological gardens and nature reserves activities with 12.25 billion, which is about 325% growth compared to the same period last financial year. Administrative interventions applied in the period under review. Important to note is that there were no new policy measures introduced by government to increase revenue yield in this current financial year, but rather the expected revenue growth is to come from the administrative measures that will ensure compliance, improved processes, and boost the effectiveness of tax administration. During the period under review, the measures implemented included taxpayer segmentation, tax register expansion initiatives, filing ratios monitoring, arrears and debt management, litigation, tax compliance investigations, and enforcement operations, as detailed below. The expansion of the taxpayer register. At least 449,975 new taxpayers were added to the register during the period July to December last year. This represents a growth of 17.19% against a target of 8.5%. By 31st December, the tax register stood at 3,065,983 taxpayers. Of these, 180,486 are non-individuals and 2,887,497 are individual taxpayers. The registration performance is attributed to key initiatives like tax education and sensitization, taxpayer register expansion program, otherwise known as TREP, analysis of data, stakeholder engagements, and usage of the Tujenge Uganda Mobile Tax Office, or Tujenge Bus, that is able to reach taxpayers in those far places where we do not have a presence. Number two, segmentation of the taxpayers. Segmenting taxpayers with a compliance technique improves taxpayer behavior, analysis, risk management, tax liability tracking, and it also enables URA to provide tailored service delivery to distinct taxpayer segments and target specific compliance tactics, that is revenue collection. Number three, consistent arrears management. This compliance strategy mainly involves ledger reconciliation, taxpayer clearance, certificate verification, and agency notice issuance. The total arrears stock as at the end of December 2022 was at 2.698 trillion, of which domestic taxes arrears portfolio is 4.22 trillion, while customs arrears portfolio is 470 billion. Total recoveries for the period of July to December were 561.95 billion. Enforcement interventions. Customs countrywide enforcement operations during the period of July to December 2022 led to a recovery of 57.21 billion, coming out of 5,734 seizures. From these seizures, 4,503 were of dutiable goods and 1,231 were from non-dutiable goods. And the following breakdown shows the under declarations at 40.7%, other offenses 32.85%, misdescription and false documentation 13.58%, undervaluation 4.04%, outright smuggling 5.98%, misclassification at 1.5%, and concealment at 1.3%. The most at-risk goods were assorted items, garments, footwear, textiles, motor vehicle spares, hair, hardware, and other items and bags. Tax dispute resolution. From July to December, 59.79 billion was recovered from tax dispute resolution mechanism against a target of 40 billion. Litigation. Cases, 39 cases in litigation were ruled in favor of URA. 12 cases were ruled in favor of taxpayers. We had 24 convictions. Split decisions were 3, and withdrawal in favor of URA were 15, and settlements or consent were 39. The table can show those figures so that we move quickly. The next intervention was in tax investigations, compliance activities. The investigations divisions utilized several compliance enhancement measures, including intelligence gathering, investigations, information sharing, scientific analysis, and forensic document inspection to detect, prevent, and deter tax fraud and systematic non-compliance tendencies. As a result of these efforts, 80 cases involving 98.84 billion in recoverable revenue were closed during this period. And the table shows the breakdown of cases as well as the figure of the revenue identified. 80 cases, 98.8 billion identified. Intervention number 7 was the implementation of IFRIS and DTS. URA has been able to onboard new taxpayers and enhance taxpayer declarations due to the implementation of the DTS, otherwise known as Digital Tax Solution, or STAMPS. There are 957 clients now on DTS register, representing 751 manufacturers, 206 importers. More inspections were being performed to bring in more customers, and this will lead to increased local excise duty collections. Also, the adoption of electronic physical receipting and invoicing solution has increased VAT compliance and enhanced taxpayer declarations. Additionally, URA is now better equipped to verify taxpayer declarations and rectify any discrepancies it uncovers. As of 31st of December 2022, the total IFRIS register stood at 57,588 taxpayers, 31,890 being VAT registered, and 24,455 not VAT registered. But effective tomorrow, February 1st, 2023, we are launching the deployment of IFRIS app on desktops. That means people without the automated accounting systems or without the electronic physical devices can as well get on IFRIS as long as they have a computer. So this will greatly enhance the rollout of IFRIS, and also we are developing a mobile app, meaning even that those without computers can as well deploy IFRIS on their smartphones. These two initiatives will help us move fast on the rollout of IFRIS. Outlook for the second half year. This is the current half year that we are in, from January to June. The revenue target for the second half year is 13,386.74 billion. 13,386.74 billion, which accounts for 53.22% of the annual target of 25.151 trillion. And below are some of the key initiatives that will help us to achieve this target. One is tax education and sensitization. We are continuing with the rollout of a holistic approach to tax education that teaches taxpayers about their rights and responsibilities, tax laws, opportunities of compliance, and the consequences of non-compliance. This will be achieved through continued taxpayer engagements, sector-specific outreach programs, dynamic communication platforms such as TVs, radios, stations, and tax barazas. The mobile tax office to Jenge Uganda buses have also proved to be very helpful, and we will continue this approach. We hope to get 2 additional buses so that we have 4 to cover the 4 regions of Uganda. Continued rollout of technology and use of data in revenue collection. We will continue the rollout and support of key technology initiatives, mainly IFRIS, DTS, non-intrusive inspection, automated integrated warehousing inspection management system, otherwise called BWIMS, rental tax compliance system. All these initiatives will help us to continue the improvement of tax collections, but also to close some of the revenue leakages. The analysis and use of data that we generate internally and data from third-party sources will also continue, and this analytic use of data will guide all our decision makings going forward. The third initiative is continued skilling of our staff and monitoring of performance management and integrity enhancement. We shall continue and we shall intensify our staff skilling programs in all the technical and soft areas of taxation. We will also establish, we have already established, but we'll continue the rollout of a new performance management system and zero tolerance culture to corruption. All these initiatives have already been rolled out, but will continue to be ingrained in our processes until they become part of our new culture. Indeed, shortly today, later today, I'll be launching our new client relationship management system. This is a tool that will help us improve our client dialogue, build a high-performance organization, but also enhance a culture of accountability and integrity, as we'll be explaining later. Number four, we will continue the stakeholder collaboration and engagements. This is with the business sector, the civil society, the religious and government leaders, and all other stakeholders to harness each other's strength in attaining our targets, sharing of information, systems integration, and capacity building in all our areas of collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, revenue mobilization requires all hands on the deck and every Ugandan pulling in one direction by contributing their fair share of tax. As we start the second half of this financial year, I call upon all our valued taxpayers, members of the media, and all the key economic players to join us in mobilizing the remaining revenue for our national development. I thank you very much for listening to me and for joining us in building our Uganda together for God and my country.
Asante sana. Asante tena. Thank you very much, Commissioner General. I think the digestion is for our fourth estate to make and be able to translate that in understandable language. There are a lot of figures and ABCD, So how you tell this story to our people is the value you bring at this venture. Ladies and gentlemen, the next phase is basically the launch of our client relationship management system that will be unveiled to you. It will be done by the Commissioner General. Let him take a breather. I would want Mr. Aubrey Muzora, the project manager for the Integrated Service Project Support Project, to come and set up at the front. I'm sure we are accustomed, if you have dealt with URA, with issues like having very many support points. We have many regional offices. We have, sometimes we could even appear uncoordinated or inconsistent, especially in standards. If somebody is in Katwe, another person is in downtown, and another person is on Boulevard, sometimes the service may not be identical. You may think you're dealing with 3 different people, but it's the same URA. These are things that have been happening. Probably you have dealt with inadequate feedback. You know, you engaging URA on any one of our systems, but probably you can't track, the feedback is slow, or sometimes it doesn't come up at all. Inability to measure the resolution rate of your issues. I submitted 2-3 issues, only 1 issue was resolved. What happened to the other? There are issues of inconsistency in quality. The system that is being unveiled by the Commissioner General is a holistic system that is consolidating all our other platforms. Initially, we had the DT service desk, we have the Ask URA app, the customer systems help, the PCA support. All these are now being integrated in one system, whereby when you're interfacing with it, any resolution, any issues, any concerns will be able to be tracked. You get response in real time based on what the process is like. It is supposed to make life easier, and this is what we're looking at, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you are a large taxpayer, a medium taxpayer, an authorized economic authorized economic operator, we have a system that is integrating our approach to customer-centric and making life easier for you. CG, you will be joining Aubrey there as he makes his demonstration, because at some point you will have to make the final submission of what he's going to do. Aubrey, would you like the mic to okay, excellent. So, accessing the system, if you look at the screen, is the URA website. So usually when you want to engage with URA, first point of contact, our biggest tool with everything URA is the website. We call it a portal. At the top there of the image of the Commissioner General is the client relationship management system. What is scrolling over there? You can either access the system through there by clicking on it, or even when you go to self-service, it is the first menu that you click on. So the first entry into the tool is accessing our portal, and then you go on clicking Access URA Client Relationship Management. It opens up a whole new world in terms of visuals, and this is the point where people will be able to engage with any department in URA. You're asking for a refund. You want a TIN, a verification of a lost TIN. Everything is on here. So when you get in there, you are required to have an account. And many people have accounts usually if you have a TIN. So you will have to make an account. So when you get in there, it shows you a drop down of issues. We have classified 14 of the most frequently problematic areas already in the system for you. So it's a drop down menu and you pick any one of them. Even if it is not there, there has a provision for you to type what your concern is. We are using artificial intelligence in this day and age. So Aubrey will pick one of the issues there, and he has chosen an issue to do with IFRIS, and it is basically IFRIS registration. So he's filling in down there, what is the description, what assistance do you need from URA? He types in the issue that needs to be done, and when he submits, you expect that the system and the people at the back end will be able to make a resolution, and you get a confirmation whether something is done, whether it is work in progress, or anything like that. So we have it in there. So the Commissioner General, an issue has been raised, and here is, how do I register IFRIS? Somebody wants to know, I want to join IFRIS, and how do I register? So the Commissioner General will submit that request. So on submission, you have a screen there where it shows that you have registered an issue. It has been ticketed. The issue is to do with IFRIS on registration, and it has been assigned back end using artificial intelligence. So your job is basically to wait to see, is it going to be resolved? How quickly, how instantly? And that's what the feedback we are talking about. So if you give it a moment. This system was live since yesterday, so some people have used it, probably overnight. That's why you see some of the other things that are coming up there. It gives you a menu where you can track the number of tickets you have put in there, and those that are resolved, they will be resolved. Those that are unresolved, you still know. At the end of the day, there's real-time feedback in terms of engaging with us. What are we doing here? We are moving away from transactional approaches to engaged citizenry. We are being more intentional, innovative, and responsive to improving our lead times in getting a response. So a back end is still assigned. So this system can be used to report, make inquiries, track progress, and also provide visibility on our processes by you, the customer. Remember that when we are talking about integrity at URA, integrity is looked at in terms of processes, people, and system integrity. Aubrey?
Yeah, it's okay.
Excellent. So that is okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a whole new world that is to revolutionize the way we interact with customers. There's going to be a lot of tax education on this for those who are interacting with online services for the first time. And it's our pleasure to introduce the Commissioner General to unveil this tool to the public.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Aubrey, and your team that has worked tirelessly to help in the development of this tool. As Ibra has already explained, this is integrating all our different channels of interaction with our taxpayers into one, but also very importantly, in real time, it will keep our taxpayers posted on the status of the inquiries, and it will also keep URA posted on the status of every inquiry that we have received. So that way we'll deal with any delays in responses to inquiries, we'll deal with any inactions, and we'll be able to have an efficient and transparent URA. So I take this opportunity to launch this. As you can see, the queries submitted that were pending have now all changed color to green, meaning they have been acted on, they've been resolved. So this will be the level of efficiency in responding to your queries. So I take this opportunity to ask all citizens and all taxpayers to embrace this technology, go on our website, click on that link that will take you to this customer relationship management system, ask any question, submit any complaint. Even for purposes of whistleblowing, any lack of professionalism in the way we have conducted ourselves, feel free to submit. This information will come to the management and we'll be able to take action and make sure that we improve our service delivery to you. So this tool is good for URA, it's good for our taxpayers, and I take the pleasure now to launch it. Going forward from today on, go and use it, let's interact and let's resolve any issues. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the Fourth Estate, I think now is the time to have an interaction with the Commissioner General and his team. We can have some comments, we can have some questions, concerns, observations. and we'll get immediate response from the Commissioner General and his team. So we have a microphone. It would be kind that we use the raise of hands. If you have something to say, you raise your hand. Make sure that you are mindful of time. Otherwise, many people will also have something to say. If something has been said, it's not need of repeating it or emphasizing it. The point will be made, and we will get a reaction or a response. So ladies and gentlemen, members of the Fourth Estate, the floor is open for that interaction. It would be nice, those who can, come to the front and you're able to make your submission well at the front so that you are visible. We have a lot of cameras here. You don't want to miss on that opportunity. You mention name and the media you represent, and you fire away.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you for the presentation. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am Faith Sanyu, working for a real estate online news site. My question is, can you tell us more about the rental income tax compliance system that uses government data to identify landlords who do not comply with their rental income tax obligations? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a round of 4-5 before we get a response from the leadership.
You were supposed to ask for me. Very good morning, colleagues. My name is Hakim Wampamba. I work with NBS Television. Just explicitly, how big or how small is the trade balance for Uganda? 2, we've just had 6 months to collect the 11.6. We have an additional 6 months to collect 13. In the months leading to where we are, we had expected a lot of imports, people buying a lot of things from outside, which comes with an advantage. With the 6 months leading us to June, that is where parents have to pay a lot of school fees, a lot of financial commitments have to be made. How far or how near is the dream of hitting the target for the 25 trillion? Many things.
Thank you. We have a hand over there.
So good afternoon. I'm Samuel Mwesigwa. I work with Baba TV. I'm just excited to see the growth in many sectors, and that shows that you people, you are working. But then, what is URI's plan? Because this week Parliament was lamenting on the 8 trillion Uganda loses in tax exemptions. What is the URI's plan as a remedy to this? Because it is an issue that has been raised on many forums, that we lose a lot of money in tax exemptions, and annually we have a figure of 80 trillions. Secondly, I need clarification on the information sector. CG, when we are talking about some of the best performing sectors, the information sector was there. And again, when we are talking about those that have not performed, the information sector was there. Lastly, what is URI's plan to assess the Busoga Rare Mineral Project, which is soon beginning next year, in line with the revenue, like the same you did it to Bunyoro Petroleum? In Busoga, there is a project which is going to begin, rare mineral which was discovered, and exploration is beginning next year. Have you assessed the value and the tax? Because it is on record that is more expensive than the oils we have in Busoga. And lastly, why is that the countries in which we are, is it importing? The biggest markets and the biggest populations, we are not taking our products. That is China and maybe India. We are looking at Germany, Italy, and yet those people, they are bringing their products here. What is the problem? Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. Do you have another hand? Okay.
Thank you for the update on our revenue collection. I'm Paul Murungi. I'm a journalist with Daily Monitor and NTV Business Desk. My key question is, we have 450,000 new taxpayers. Which sectors are they coming from? Or which major sectors are contributing these new taxpayers that are coming on board? Two is, oil has been taunted as one of the big thing in the country and will contribute immensely to our economic growth. But I would just know, in terms of oil activities, we've seen a lot happening. How much have we collected from these activities? There's a lot of importing equipment, and even here, there are a lot of contracts being signed. And perhaps my last question is on vehicles, which seem to be contributing a lot to our import bill. I just want to know, can you put a number to how many vehicles we were able to import in this period? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have one more hand and then get a response from the leadership. No? Okay, thank you. Commissioner General, the opportunity to respond.
I'll just respond to a few issues and pass on the other issues to my colleagues, members of senior management who are here with me. The first question was on the rental compliance management system. This is a new technology which we are outsourcing that uses satellite imagery to identify all the buildings in a jurisdiction, say Kampala, and then we use third-party data sources like national water data to tell us if the building is occupied, like Umeme data to tell us if indeed there is daily consumption of power and water. Then we use land data to tell us who owns that building. Then we go further to verify if the one occupying is the owner, if it's owner occupied or rented, because it is only those buildings that are rented that should pay rental tax. So this technology, using blockchain, integrates all these different data from sources, and then it gives us pointers to those properties that are occupied and may be candidates of rental tax, but are not on our rental tax register. So then we dispatch teams to go out there and verify. Now, using local leaders, neighbors, intelligence, we find out if this particular building is owner-occupied or rented. And if it is rented, why isn't it on our rental register? So that is how the technology works. And it is beginning to yield some good results. As you heard, one of the areas where there was significant improvement was in rental tax. But again, the potential is a lot, so that's an area where we still have focus, and we believe it will bring out more. So our appeal to members of public and all taxpayers, whoever has a property that earns them rental income, that is not registered with us, that is not submitting rental tax, had better do that earlier than later. Because when we find out, then we'll go into issues of audit. How long have you earned this income? And then apply, of course, penalties and interest for non-payment at the time that you should. So you'd have saved yourself a lot of trouble by coming forth and telling us, I own this and this is what I earn, and you start paying rental tax. So that is it about the rental compliance management system. The next question was on URA's dream, I think from the colleague of NBS, URA's dream on achieving the target of 25 trillion. Yes, it's true that we have covered 6 months where we were expected to collect 11 trillion, 11.6 trillion, and we are looking at the next 6 months where we expected to collect 13 point something trillion. That is very true. Now, there's something they call seasonality, and I'm not an expert in this area, so maybe someone with more knowledge, but this comes from the Ministry of Finance. They are the ones who, following that formula of seasonality, look at the factors that may affect the growth of the economy and so on, and allocate targets per period. So true, the period for the first half, as much as it's the half with a lot of festive seasons like the Christmas and the New Year, it is the target there was 11.76 trillion. And again, it is the same team that sets the target that put the bulk of the target of 13 into the last half. So that is not the work of URA, but how prepared is URA, or what is the dream of URA in achieving this target? I would like to give you confidence as our partners in developing this nation and all our taxpayers that we are confident we will achieve this target. Of course, working with you. So that's why we take this opportunity to call for more support, more sensitization, more compliance. This is our country. Unless we really rise up to the challenge and raise the expected number from us, then we will send our government into borrowing, which is not a very good thing. So we have every confidence. The teams are already out there working day and night. All these technologies that we are talking about are taking farmer root. They are improving the expected yields. So we are confident that even although the time left is equal to what we have already covered, we will be able to achieve this target with your support and ultimately with the help of God. Now, the next question was from a comrade from Baba TV on tax exemptions, taking away 8 trillion. Now, the purpose for tax exemptions is mainly to enable investments that will create more jobs, will create more products that will pay taxes. These companies that are exempted to invest here, or the investors, when they produce products, the products pay tax. If they are producing water, water will pay tax. There will be excise duty on this bottle of water. But also the people who work in these factories will pay tax. Even when they earn, they may pay direct taxes like payee, but also when they earn, they will pay indirect taxes. So foregoing some revenue initially to enable investment is the right strategy that government is pursuing. Now, what is URA's role and the Ministry of Finance role is to study these exemptions and actually inform government that they are bringing the value that was anticipated. And that study is ongoing to guide government that these investments that have benefited from exemptions have actually caused the ripple effect that was anticipated. If that is not there, then we will be at loss. But if that ripple effect is caused, then the revenue lost will be recovered and in bigger quantities. Or what is recovered will exceed what is foregone initially to enable investment. Now, I will let my colleagues from the direct departments answer the performance of information sector, the information and communication sector, the plan on rare minerals. We have an AC in charge of mining. Please approach your commissioner with the plan for this. But also, the commissioner customs could speak about the export destinations. Why aren't we exporting to China and India, where we are importing most of our items? The colleague from the monitor asked about the breakdown of the new taxpayers. Again, CDT and your team, you can mention of the 499,000 new taxpayers, who falls under which sector. Again, the question on the revenue so far collected from the oil activities. Again, CDT and your team, you can give us more information, or any of you commissioners who has these answers can support the CDT. But we have collected some revenue without a doubt from the oil and gas sector. Most of it has been from payee, because as these companies open up, they have employed people and they are paying pay as you earn. Most of the other inputs are tax exempt. So most of the inputs that you see may not be contributing tax, but certainly the numbers are there and we can share with you these numbers. Then CCD, you may talk about the imported vehicles in the period as we take on another round. So let me ask who is ready to answer some of these questions. CCD.
Thank you, CG, and members of the Fourth Estate. I just wanted to respond to the issue of why we are not exporting to our major importing countries. We are exporting. We have told you, CG has told you, we are exporting a lot of coffee, we are exporting a lot of tea, we are exporting a lot of items produced here. But the answer basically is on one, how much value have we added on what we export as Uganda? And that's why government has been emphasizing, before you export, can you add value? If you look at what comes from China, India, they have really added value. They are finished products. But most of our exports have been still around semi-finished products. So they take and then add value to our coffee, add value to our tea, add value to our fish. And that's why we've been trying to make sure some items which can be eroded, there is also export levy. So if you are taking our fish when it is raw, then you have to pay some tax. If you are taking our hides and skins, when they are raw, you pay export levy. Just to discourage people from taking items out there which are raw and we add value. So that's maybe one of the reasons, because now if you are exporting semi-finished, you expect China now also to bring the finished products. So we are trying to encourage Ugandans to add value to our exports. CG, there was an issue on how many vehicles we import. In the last 6 months, we have imported 160 vehicles. Now, of these vehicles imported, basically an average of about 30,000 vehicles per month. 30 vehicles per month. But of those, 70% of the 30 remain here. The 30% is re-exported. So we re-export about 30% of the 30,000 vehicles. And the main consuming countries is South Sudan and Democratic Republic of Congo. They come, go into our bonded warehouses, and then they are re-exported as they come. But most of the vehicles that come are consumed within Uganda. Thank you, CG.
There was a question from Wesigua from Baba TV on performance of the information sector. And you rightfully note that it is one of the major contributing sectors, but in the report, it's declining in performance. Now, this sector has the telecoms, but it has also anyone who is in the ICT industry. I think as countries digitalize, and particularly as everyone, starting with the COVID period until today, looks for gadgets, there has been an industry scarcity of microchips, and so the process of manufacturing and delivering IT equipment has been slow. So today, if you ordered for a new computer, you're likely to get it 10 months down the road. This has been made worse by the war in Ukraine, which is also one of the suppliers of materials, raw materials that manufacture computer chips. And so these dynamics that are way beyond our control are affecting the industry, and therefore the people who are trading in that space don't have as much turnover as they used to have. And so what we're seeing here is largely global impact on the value chain, in the supply chain for ICT equipment, which definitely affects trade for the taxpayers who deal in that space. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to comment on the tax registrations, especially on the sectors. The 450 new taxpayers are largely coming from wholesale and retail businesses. And as you will note, people are coming back from COVID and the economy now is stabilizing. So we have a number of people in that space registering for taxes. We also have personal income taxes, people who are in employment. They normally get tax identification numbers, and they are also part of this, including suppliers who may not be registered but are being withheld from, so they have to also come and register. The other sectors are also there, but in small numbers. On the tax revenue for oil and gas sector, you will note that this sector is just starting, so we don't have a lot of activity, but in the past 6 months, we collected 181 billion from this sector, which is largely composed of withholding tax and pay as you earn, as indicated by the CG. Withholding tax is coming from the other supply chain. We have tier 1, tier 2 of the people in the oil and gas sector. We look forward to more of this sector contributing, especially in the next 6 months, as we expect more activity in that space. Thank you so much. On the minerals, the mineral space is a space that we are just trying to put more focus in this next 6 months. The players in that area are still very difficult to be traced. Many of them are informal. Others who are formal are still not yet doing the value addition for us to get money from there, but it's a focus area for the tax authority. We hope to get some tax reported in the next 6 months. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Are we good? Thank you. I would like to invite another round from the Fourth Estate. Any comments, observations, any questions? We have a hand. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Abel. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you very much. I am Samuel Muhindo from The Observer. To start with, I'm much interested in the type of vehicles, as the CG had commented, that are imported into Uganda. Are they the parcels or they are the heavy-duty vehicles that come into the country? Secondly, last year, you already announced that intention to tax the digital economy, and I've seen my friend Albert here. And I would want to know whether the progress of taxing the digital economy because they are contributing a good part of it to the economy. Then also about the taxation of Facebook, Twitter, Netflix, and Spotify, we receive receipts, but Facebook remains closed. I know this is not meant for you to answer, but why would you tax a section like Facebook that is still inoperational in the country? And how much maybe do the telecoms contribute to the tax bag or the revenue that you collect eventually? Thank you very much.
Okay. Next, we have a hand behind there. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Martha Nimsima. I'm from Smart24 TV. Well, my question is in relation to the public debt, and you are a target goal for revenue collection. Well, our debt has risen from 69 billion to approximately 78 billion. So my question is, how are we going to get this target, yet we still have a big public debt stock? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Hakim?
Sorry for not asking all of them at once. Hakim Wampamba from NBS Television. Just last week, the president, while at the Professor Emmanuel Tumosime Mutebire, commented and said the biggest tax avoiders are, I hope they are not around, telecom companies and members of playing in the real estate sector. If we would put those numbers here to ensure that we give our viewers a very good view of what happens, how much are we getting from our biggest telecoms in the country? And the real estate sector, I think, has been alluded to in part earlier. Many thanks.
Thank you. Do you still have a hand? Okay, we have one more.
Yes, Paul Murungi once again here. I didn't hear a response about the trade our trade balance, import, export.
Okay, first ask it again.
I just want to know what's our current trade balance when you look at import and export, and how do we intend to improve on that? Maybe that's a solution.
Abel, did you hear the trade balance? Abel? Okay. Any other hand? Or we get responses to those? Responses. Excellent. CG, we could respond to some of those.
On these ones, I would just assign the colleagues here to speak. Type of vehicles, I think that's customs, taxation of digital economy. We are doing some work. CDT can give us what we are doing. How do we tax Facebook when it's closed? It's good you put a disclaimer. This is not our question to answer. But you know, somehow CDT will confirm they should be one of those that have already started paying. If they are open, they would pay more, maybe. Now, Teleco, their distribution, we also have facts. Let's have the numbers of what we collect from telecoms. Public debt, stock, I didn't get the question clearly, but Patience can respond to that. Legal. Then Teleco and real estate. How much are they contributing? We have all these numbers. Let me ask the line commissioners to speak about them. Who is ready?
Thank you, CG. I think the one I can respond to was on the type of vehicles that are imported. Of course, we classify them into two. We have persons motor vehicles, the ones we normally see, the passenger vehicles. They are the majority that are being imported. We have less goods motor vehicles. And actually what pays us more money are the persons motor vehicles, because the goods vehicles, most of them have exemption on import duty and are paying VAT withholding tax. So why? We are trying to encourage Ugandans to buy more of goods vehicles than persons' motor vehicles. But this is a culture and a mindset that will shift with time. And of recent, we are seeing in terms of our re-exports, most of the car bonds are re-exporting more of goods vehicles than passenger vehicles. And that's not a good trend. It shows that our neighbors are buying more goods which are going to add value. And for us, we are buying, the Baganda called them a Zabuyonjo. We have more of those vehicles coming in. It's a trend that we need to work on and improve on.
Thank you so much, CG. The question from Martha, you raised a concern about the growth of the public debt and how, in those circumstances, the URA is working towards or ensuring that we do recover the revenues that we must recover. So debt has two components, at least from the tax side. You have the government debt in terms of the government areas, and then you also have another component that we classify as the private areas. Yes, it is true, in as much as the debt from government is growing, but there are efforts to try and reduce that. So what we are doing is to have engagement with the Ministry of Finance to make sure that each time the payments are made, then the corresponding tax is actually remitted to the URA. We also have an interface with the IFMIS, the system which they're using, so we are able to track the payments which are being made and making sure that at least the tax is indeed recovered by the URA. But apart from debt, if I may go to the tax areas from the private sector, where indeed also a large portion comes from, like the CJ said, among the compliance activities is what we are doing about reducing the arrears portfolio. One of the things we are doing is encouraging taxpayers to pay in installments. Yes, it is true that some of the tax portfolio numbers indeed can be very high, but we have also encouraged and we appeal to taxpayers that if you're able to come and give us a plan on how you intend to settle this liability, we will be able to enter into a legal instrument, sign an MOU, and then we'll keep monitoring the payments which are coming through. And this facility has been very, it has brought in a lot of money, especially during the times of COVID, even past COVID, because businesses were recovering. And as the URA, we were cognizant of the fact that indeed businesses were struggling and we needed to be flexible around that. We are also using methods like the use of alternative dispute resolution, where we're encouraging taxpayers that if you have any dispute, let's sit on a round table and have a discussion around resolution of those disputes, because these are also what goes into the arrears portfolio. So administratively, yes, we do recognize that debt is growing, but we are taking some of those measures to make sure that taxpayers engage and that ultimately we have a resolution of these disputes so that the arrears portfolio as well does not keep growing. Tax education as well is very important, and this is also related to the dispute resolution, because we have also had cases where taxpayers were not aware of some of the obligations. So once you have the discussions and then they're able to understand what their provisions in the law provide for, we have also had significant revenue coming from some of those efforts. So Martha, yes, it is true, the debt is growing, but the URA is also taking measures in making sure that we reduce on some of this debt that is stuck in the different tax heads. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, you ready to go?
Thank you. Just to pick a few of the questions relating to domestic tax. On the digital tax, this is a VAT on electronic payments, and examples are things like movies on Netflix, online advertisements, any form of marketing that you do online. We are getting VAT on that transaction value and we are collecting. So things like online meetings, like Zoom meetings, the likes of Amazon, Google, so there are a number of things that we are getting, and this is okay. So Facebook sources income from Uganda, and so far we've collected about 700 million, and that is okay. So on the rare earth mineral, which somebody was asking, in Busoga, yes, there is a company called Rwenzori Rare Earth Company that is mining that rare earth mineral, and so far we've collected withholding tax and pay as you earn from this company of about 560 million. Exploration is still ongoing. We've also collected stamp duty of about 800 million. So like I indicated earlier, that we are slowly focusing on the mineral sector and looking at getting a fair contribution from this sector into the tax, the revenue target. The telecom sector contributes quite greatly into the target. The top taxpayers are actually the telecom taxpayers, contributing both indirect and direct taxes into our revenue target. We can share with you the details of the numbers, but those are really the top taxpayers in terms of their revenue contribution. Other factors constant. Thank you.
Excellent. CG?
Maybe just a small addition. From the telecom sector, generally the whole information sector, we collect, in a financial year, we collect about 2 trillion. That is 2,000 billion from that sector. As you can see from the report, we're able to collect about 824 billion in this half year. The explanation on the drop, the 2 major telecoms, we are doing some extensive investment in their networks. So where you invest in a lot of money in buying the equipment that you need, that gives you a big VAT input, which takes away the VAT output from your sales. So we hope that in the next half of the year, there will not be as much investment in the network, and that can rise. But the range is about 2 trillion from that sector. Of course, we also know that some players in that sector exited, and that also affected the revenue from those areas. But true to the concern of His Excellency the President, it's one of the areas he raised where there could be massive under declarations. And the thing we are doing about that is skilling our people to be able to effectively audit that sector. It has overwhelming information. Our ordinary auditors cannot get in and tell whether there is an under declaration or not. So we are doing something about that, and we hope we'll come up with findings that will tell us if there is under declaration, to what extent. But on the other side, the rental sector has also not been contributing much. I think last year, last financial year, for the first time, we collected about 150 billion. And that was a growth from about 110 billion the year before. Now, as you can see from the performance of half year, it's clear that we will grow this significantly. And as this revenue monitoring system, the rental revenue monitoring system takes shape, as we do more vigilant verification and registration of taxpayers in this sector, it is a sector where we believe we can double and triple the current collections. But the target this year, we hope to collect at least 200 billion from that sector. But we hope it can even grow higher when these technologies have taken effect. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Patience.
Thank you, Ibra. I just wanted to add on a comment on the minerals. That is one of the areas where we believe there's a rate of potential in terms of revenue collections, but also payment of other fees. So what government has done is that with the enactment of the Mining and the Minerals Act of 2022, it has put in place a very good governance framework that we are supposed to follow in looking out for who these miners are, the different companies that are involved, whom they report to, the licensing regime. All those ones have been covered in the Mining and the Minerals Act. As the URA, we are going to engage, and we have also agreed upon a framework where we will be having discussions with the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, so that at least we have a framework for sharing of information, so that we're able to effectively monitor the activities of all the players who are in the mining sector. And we believe that once we have that collaboration and the sharing of information, we should be able to see more revenue coming in from this sector as well. But it is on our radar. It is one of those key areas that we are purposed to focus on in making sure that the players do pay a fair share of taxes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, CG. Thank you, team. Members of the Fourth Estate, at this point is where we say, okujja kunga waliwo akatalekeka. Right? Wali akatalekeka? Would like to be able to bring it to a close. CG, would you like to make just maybe a comment in Luganda as we close, because we have an audience there that likes to hear from you when you try a bit of Luganda, and we'll bring it to a close.
Abakulu abavudde mu Fourth Estate abamawulire, ekikulu ekituleese wano kubadde okwanjula okwa omusolo gwe tukungaanyiza mu mezi gano kuva mu mwezi ogw'omusanvu ogw'omwaka guno guweddeko kutuuka ku mwezi ogw'e12 ogwa Desemba. Tusobodde okukungaanya essente eziwera trillion 11 ne billion 67 mu mezi gano 6, ate nga target gye tubadde tugenderedde okukungaanya ziri trillion 11 ne billion 764. N'olwekyo tubuzizaako billion 94 okuweza target. Mu performance twakoze performance eya percentage 99 n'obutundu 2, 99.2% performance. So tubadde twanjula buli musolo nga bwe gwa performance egya wano egya domestic taxes n'egyebintu ebiva wabweru. Egya domestic taxes basobodde okufuna target ne batuukiriza target yaabwe, ne bakungaanya trillion 7 n'obutundu 47, ate nga target yabadde ya trillion 7 n'obutundu 45. So aba domestic taxes, emisolo egya wano egya VAT, egya pay, egya local excise duty, twasobodde okukungaanya target gye tubadde tukolerako ne tuyisaamu billion 19. Naye guli omusolo ogw'ebyamaguzi ebiva wabweru twakungaanye trillion 4 n'obutundu 53, ate nga target gye tubadde tunoonya ya billion 4 n'obutundu 56. So eno performance ebadde 97.5%, ate nga twafunyeko gap ezitaweze bulungi billion 10 naye twewaddeyo nti mugana amezi 6 gabulayo tujja kwongeramu amaanyi tusobole okukungaanya esente zonna eza target gye tukolerako omwaka guno eziwera trillion 25 n'akatundu kamu 25.15 trillion. So tubadde twaniriza abawi b'emisolo, twaniriza ab'amawulire ba supporters baffe abatuyamba okutuusa enjiri mu bawi b'omusolo, ate ne batuyamba naffe okutuholding accountable. Tubadde tusaba mutuwagire mu kitundu kino ekisembayo eky'omwaka guno tusobole okuweza trillion 25 n'obutundu 151 wa target y'omwaka guno. Gap gye tulina okukavaringa mu gana amezi 6 ziri trillion 13 n'obutundu 3.8. Tusuubira tulina essuubi tujja kuziweza Katonda nga atuyambye ate namwe nga mutuwagidde. Ako kamala.
Ssaabasajja Wangale.
Ebale nnyo.
Thank you very much. Asante sana. Could we have the anthems?
Mungu taomba uilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Thank you very much. We thank our leadership. Thank you, Commissioner General, senior management, staff of URA, our guests, the Fourth Estate. This brings us to a close. You've been a wonderful audience. CJ, I know some of these media houses may want a sound bite. If you just have a moment as you go out, they could pick a sound bite from you. Otherwise, thank you very much. And the next item will be lunch.
The children are going to school for free. Roads have been constructed. Ebyobulimi bitutumuse obutale webuli. Abakyala tebakyazaalira mu mbeera mbi ng'eyedda.
We have electricity. Businesses are being supported. Uganda Airlines ekomyewo. I'm proud to be Ugandan.
Celebrate you.
Oh, we celebrate you.
Taxpayers of Uganda. We appreciate you.
We appreciate you.
Uganda together. Mukoze omulimo. Mwebale kusasula. Tusime mwebale nnyo.
Thank you for paying your taxes. Uganda Revenue Authority. Developing Uganda together.
Paying taxes is a civic duty.
unity.